Thank you for joining us on Coffee Break, brought to you by the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or M4A. M4A is a part of a network of 13 area agencies on aging that cover all 67 counties across the state. We are located in Alabaster, and we cover Blount, Chilton, Shelby, St. Clair, and Walker counties. We would love to find out how we can help your family today. For previous episodes of Coffee Break, feel free to check out our YouTube channel. Just want to welcome everybody in. This is, I believe, session number, I think, is it 5, Jennifer? Yeah, we've already gotten up. Yep. I think it's either 5 or 6. I think we're moving along with these. Seems like we just started the coffee break, but we're moving along pretty quickly with these. So we want to welcome everybody in. If you're not familiar with what coffee break is, of course, it's an initiative that we have started here with M4A, with the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, through 2 of our programs that we call the PANDA Project, which is it's providing Alzheimer's and dementia assistance primarily for residents in the Shelby County region of Alabama, as well as our Alabama Cares program. That is our traditional caregiver support program, not necessarily confined just to those that are living with dementia or their caregivers, but also for other situations, as well as across all 5 of the counties that we cover, which we will go over at the end of this presentation. All right, so I would like to introduce our speaker today, Ms. Karen Collins with Music Therapy Milestones. She's joining us today to kind of review over, most of us are aware of how important music can be utilized as a tool for those living with cognitive impairments, but she's really going to go into detail on some tips and tricks you might be able to utilize as a caregiver. Again, if you're joining us late, we do record these presentations, so in a couple of days, hopefully by Friday, we should have this on our YouTube channel. So if you need to refer back to it, feel free to do so, as well as any of our previous episodes. And please share with anybody that you think might benefit from this presentation today. So welcome again, and I will pass it on to Ms. Karen now. So I will go to the start screen here. And again, Ms. Karen, if you will just let me know whenever you need to change slides, I will help you out.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I start every music therapy session off with a song. So we're going to sing a song called Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. And you can keep it on the slide for right now, Jeremy. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's high, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by, but a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Join in. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for inviting me to be here. You can go to the next slide so I can tell you a little bit about my private practice. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and I established my private practice in Birmingham in 2011. And since then, we've grown to a team of 4 board-certified music therapists serving Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and Huntsville, Alabama. Our primary populations that we serve are infants and toddlers with disabilities, inclusive pre-K programs, school-age children with special needs, adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, adults recovering from traumatic brain injury, and older adults with memory impairments. We collaborate with many long-term care facilities for monthly enrichment services in the greater Birmingham area. And prior to COVID-19, we had private pay opportunities for home-based music therapy. Since COVID-19 hit, we have transitioned to telemusic therapy. That has completely rocked all of my team's world. But our clients are amazing, and the families that we serve are amazing. And I've been quite impressed with how well the transition has happened. What brought me to music therapy is, when I was a high schooler, a family member of mine had a pretty severe head injury playing flag football that led to surgery and led to some psychological issues. And that was what sparked my interest in seeking how I could help serve other people through music, through my passion. And from there, I became obsessed with learning about it. And I met with the director of the music therapy program at UA. And from the time I was a sophomore in high school, I knew I wanted to be a music therapist. I completed my clinical internship at United Ability here in Greater Birmingham, where I worked with adults with intellectual disabilities and within an inclusive pre-K program. And today I hold a contract. They were my very first business contract. And from there, I've established relationships with AIDB, Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind, Neuro Community Care to serve wounded veterans in the area. So I'm very proud. Not a lot of people know and understand what we do. And I'm here to tell you a little bit more about that. So if Jeremy, you can move on to the next slide, I'll tell you what music therapy is. We're an established healthcare profession in which music is used within a therapeutic relationship by a board-certified music therapist to address the physical, communication, cognitive, social, and emotional needs of all individuals. So in our process, it's not so much about the quality of the music as the relationship that's built through music. And how are we promoting a positive change in behavior or in their ability to interact with their loved ones, with people within the residential community they may be, or even within the community in some examples. I'm quite amazed with how music can be used as a tool to address communication. At the core of our being, music, if you think about a developing child who is learning how to interact with a caregiver, they're going to interact through a sing-song method, cooing and awing, and it's very musical. And language is very, very musical. There's rhythm in our communication skills. There's inflection or tonality in how we communicate. And then moving into social and emotional skills, the way we interact through music can evoke so many social and emotional interactions. So what I seek to do as a music therapist is to build meaningful relationships through music, and just to promote the relationship of everyone who's involved in that music therapy session. So next slide is going to tell us a little bit about our clinical training and our education. So there are only a handful of approved music therapy degree programs in the United States. And the American Music Therapy Association, that I acronymed as AMTA, is the only association that can monitor these degree programs to ensure quality of the educational experience. They offer bachelor's level monitoring, master's, and doctoral level. I'm at bachelor's level, and I've completed, before I even started practicing, I completed 1,200 clinical hours, including 1,040-hour supervised internship. And that supervision is so important for our students who are learning, because you learn so much through the experience. And so from the time we're freshmen in college, we had guitars in our hand and we're playing in front of groups of older adults, just songs that we had learned on the guitar, because many students have never picked up a guitar Their primary instrument might be the flute or voice or piano. And we love to use our guitars because they're super portable and easy to bring into facilities, into homes. And I think it's really important to emphasize that we are both musicians and therapists, and our clinical training requires us to study how to become good musicians and how to become good therapists. Once we complete our clinical training and our coursework, we have to pass the board certification exam created by CBMT. That's the Certification Board for Music Therapists. And in order to maintain our credentials, we have to document a minimum of 100 hours every 5 years. Our field is changing really fast. The field of music and neuroscience is definitely influencing how we care for our patients and our clients. And I think it's really important to emphasize just how important the Certification Board for Music Therapists is for our profession, because they are accredited by the National Commission for Certifying Agencies. This is the same organization that certifies the accreditation for our nurses, our physical therapists, our PTs. And while there are other therapeutic music professionals out there, none of them require the same level of education and continuing education that board certified music therapists are required to maintain, which means we are staying up to date with our ever evolving field and have very, very awesome strategies that are working with our clients. We abide by standards of practice and have met all the core competencies to help us evaluate and assess the strengths and limitations in all domains: social communication, motor, social emotional, all those major domains. We create a plan of care and we work with the family to create goals and objectives. So we meet the family where they're at and say, how can we help you? And we'll talk a little bit more about what those goals are for specific to dementia here in a minute. And then in addition, we reevaluate the effectiveness of our treatment as time goes on and makes recommendations for changes. And then, of course, we love collaborating with members of the interdisciplinary team, your doctors, your nurses, every family member who is willing to collaborate with us. We want to be part of it. And yes, family is probably one of the most important members of the team. So I want to emphasize, we are musicians, but we are also allied health professionals, and I think we are leaders in healthcare. So as I move on to the next slide, I want to talk about the science behind what we do, because everything I do as a music therapist is evidence-based. Our research goes back to the 1950s when, soldiers were coming back after the World Wars, and trained musicians were the ones that were able to really, really reach them. And we started studying what is music to these individuals who have experienced trauma, who have lost the ability to communicate effectively due to severe mental health concerns. And music was the tool to enter into their world and help them. And there are physiological responses, behavioral responses, and neurological responses. And I call myself a board certified music therapist that follows a cognitive behavioral approach, because I want to know what is happening in the brain, how the brain is controlling those physiological and behavioral responses, and what behavior I'm observing, how that client is responding to the intervention that I'm providing. And it really, in the moment, it looks like we're just singing and having fun, but the science behind it is really quite fascinating. So let's move on to the next slide and talk about the physiological responses to music. We have research about the ISO principle being able to help meet someone where they're at and bring them to a more aroused state or less aroused. And this is especially important for someone who, with dementia, maybe even in the later stages of dementia, who is withdrawn and not wanting to interact. Meeting them calmly where the demands are not much. All they have to do is listen. Maybe they make eye contact. Then we may move into a song where they're willing to interact with a musical instrument, followed by a more upbeat song that includes music and movement. And then we might bring them back down to a state of a more relaxed state. And that's the concept of the ISO principle, meeting where they're at, bringing them to where we want them to be in that group or in that session, in a one-to-one session or in a family session, and leaving them in a better place than when we met them. And so what's happening internally, we have to look at the music and neurotransmitters. Dopamine is one of those really neat responses to music, because it's that reinforcing component. And when someone is interacting through music, it naturally releases dopamine and provides that pleasurable response. The same thing with the oxytocin and even serotonin, to stimulate or to help calm down and relax them. So those are really cool elements. One of my favorites is the effects of music and cortisol. Cortisol is that stress hormone in our bodies that is released in the amygdala of the brain. And basically your amygdala is flooded with the hormone, but also blood flows through your amygdala, meaning you cannot access a higher order of thinking. You're not able to really access that executive functioning part of your brain when you're extremely stressed out. And because music can release serotonin and oxytocin and dopamine, and you can find those pleasurable responses, we can actually help decrease cortisol in our aging adults. If you want to move on to behavioral, music and behavior. So the next slide, right? This is physiological. If you can move to, there you go. Thank you. Music and behavior. Music can be used as a cue. So I might use music to cue when to play an instrument, and I might tell that someone to get some active engagement to play when you hear the word cake, and I'll hand them an instrument, and I'll have them play along, and they'll wait for my cue, which is the word cake, and I'll sing this song. If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake, baked a cake, baked a cake. If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake. How'd you do, how'd you do, how'd you do? So that adds some cognitive stimulation, but also they have a cue of a lyric in a song to know when to play and to add a new level of focus. And it's a song from their young adult years that they may recall, that will be more likely that they'll engage. I use that one at the beginning of of sessions typically, just to get them engaged and want to interact. We can use it to structure body movement and time, and we can use it to help focus attention. There's a lot of really awesome research about how music can help captivate the attention of our clients more effectively. And that's because music, even just the melody of a song, you have the melody and you have the lyrics. The melody of the song is typically processed around the right side of the brain, the right hemisphere of the brain, and the lyrics are actually processed on the left. So you have that cross-lateralization of the brain that actually allows more opportunities for the client to engage and to focus and attend to what is being done. And when it's something that they're familiar with, that confidence helps them want to maintain that attention, and it's rewarding. So as we move into the next slide, this is just a really lovely image about music in the brain, and the different areas that music can be processed in the brain. The corpus callosum connects both hemispheres of the brain, and there's some research that talks about how it builds gray matter around, which allows that cross-lateralization to have smoother connections. We can evoke movement through playing an instrument, but oftentimes you might even see someone just tapping their toes, and that's an automatic response to the movement or to the rhythm, which is actually processed throughout the brain in various areas. One of my favorite elements of music in the brain is how music tied to a memory, so a song tied to a memory, often cannot be lost because of how music is processed in the amygdala to invoke emotions and responses. So playing songs from the young adult years that have associate to a strong memory, maybe a wedding, maybe a song that their loved one sang to them, something along those lines, is really gonna be what gets them a strong response. And then, I'm really big believer in integrating the multi-sensory component of everything I do, involving as many senses as possible when you're trying to stimulate someone and make a connection. So I believe what fires together wires together, even in our aging populations. So, we can, in music therapy, we're automatically engaging the auditory, so hearing, we're engaging touch, we're engaging all, so many senses at the same time. So the more and more vision is also included. So that's part of why we can get them engaged as well. And then the cerebellum is involved with movement and dancing, but we're really cautious about how we get them moving, and we do a lot of movement in our chairs, which hopefully I will have time to show you. So let's move on to the next slide. I love this quote as to why music can reach individuals with dementia, and it's because music has a personal significance to someone or is connected with historical events. And that's that strong stimulus to engage responses in people, even in late stages of dementia. Even if they're not necessarily able to tell you what the title of the song is, they're still able to be moved and feel the associations. And you can read some more about the research through the Cochrane Review. I put the link in this, but you can also Google Music Therapy and Dementia Cochrane Review, and it'll kind of give you some more ideas about research. So one of my favorite case examples that I have is actually this was actually one of my first private paying clients like 10 years ago. And I received the referral from a local short-term rehab facility. They were releasing the patient, and they wanted to try music therapy because there was a history of music experiences. The client had previously played piano, and the caregiver really wanted her mom to play the piano as much as possible so she didn't lose those skills. Well, what we found was that there was actually some resistance to music therapy because we were pushing the whole element of, hey, you've got to sit down and read this music. Well, it was too overwhelming for her senses. She could not process the visual stimuli and everything, so we had to take things away. And I quickly discovered that she could play nearly any piece I would ask her, even classical pieces, as long as I sang along with her. And so that was our way in to connect, and that was a way to help her practice those skills, build those self-confidence. She was a favorite performer at her assisted living facility because when they discovered her talents and how to reach her, it was just wonderful for everyone involved. And one of my favorite moments with her, because, when caring for a loved one, finding connections is really, really hard. And it was especially hard for this client's granddaughter. She would avoid spending time with her grandmother, and the caregiver, one of the goals, she was like, I would just want my daughter to have a really good experiences with her grandmother. So she started coming to our music therapy sessions, and and I watched the daughter from behind as her grandmother was playing, and she was smiling because she hadn't heard her grandmother play in years. And then she said, Grandma, do you remember when I would sit in your lap and sing "I'm a Lonely Little Petunia"? And I typically frown upon saying, do you remember in a session with someone with cognitive impairments? But she remembered, and she started playing "I'm a lonely little petunia in an onion patch, an onion patch, an onion patch. I'm a lonely little petunia in an onion patch, and all I do is cry all day. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. The air's so strong it takes my breath away. I'm a lonely little petunia in an onion patch, and all I do is cry all day." So there they were, sitting in the lobby of this assisted living facility, granddaughter and grandmother singing together, making eye contact, smiling, and there was their way of reconnecting with each other. And it was a meaningful moment that I think brought tears to her mom's, the caregiver's eyes, my eyes, because that's what this is all about, is trying to find ways to have meaningful interactions with the people you love the most when they are confused, when they're the most vulnerable. So as we move into the next slide, did I lose you? Okay. The benefits of music therapy and dementia is to shift mood, to manage and manage stress and reduce, not induce, manage stress-induced agitation. There we go. Now I see what I meant. Stimulate positive interactions, facilitate cognitive function, and coordinate motor movements, even in the very late stages of Alzheimer's and dementia. So what I mean by motor movements, and I was talking about how rhythm is a huge component in our brain, and it's actually like if you had a brain scan happening, it would actually show in movement areas of the brain when you have anything rhythmic. But what's really cool is there's research about how we can use rhythmic auditory stimulation to help with a more even gait or walking pattern for someone who might be at risk of falling. And so those are some strategies that a music therapist might work on if that was a concern in motor. But even just getting them to move to music is huge for their health and wellness as well. Let's move on to the next slide. Just to give you an idea of some goals in each stage of dementia. In the early stage, we do work on some reminiscing and really when I say reminiscing, it's using a song and then getting them to talk and share stories about that song. We want them to socialize. We want to hear self-expression through instrument play, movement, and singing. And then if we're working in a group, we're really working on positive relationships and group cohesion. So it's really quite cool in some of our memory care units when we do get them talking, because more and more open up and start sharing. And as we move into middle stages of dementia, we want to maintain attention and engagement. We want to keep their fine motor skills active by maintaining their strength to hold items. And we do this by actually putting real instruments in their hand. It takes fine motor skills to grasp the tambourine and shake it. And those are the same things to learn to hold and steady that pitcher, to pour a glass of milk, or some things like that. They need those skills to maintain as much autonomy as they can. And so those fine motor aspects of playing instruments is huge. And then same with exercise and keeping those coordination. We want that brain as engaged as possible so that they can maintain as many skills as possible. The more and more you use skills, the more unlikely your brain is likely to be able to find those connections. During late stage, we want to reduce anxiety and agitation, and we focus a lot of relaxation. This is when you're going to see a lot of more leaning towards calming bedside type stuff. And then obviously in the late stages or end stage of dementia, we're doing a lot with the senses, sensory stimulation. We might bring in the ocean drum. We might sing using and use touch and massage with lotions. We might encourage some use of essential oils if there's no allergies involved. Anything to stimulate as many senses as possible and give opportunities for connection. And opportunities for autonomy. We give choices. We'll print off huge print of song lists and let them choose the next song to sing for us. So moving into our next slide, I also really love to use theme concepts. And so I might structure like segments of my sessions around a theme. Like recently we just had the big launch with the space shuttle. So this is a great time to let them watch that and start singing about songs about the sun, moon, and stars, and then have a great conversation about what their experiences were. And many of them experienced what it was like when the big space race was going on. So, I'll sing songs that have moon, stars, and that they know, that they're likely to know. Kind of like this. Moon river wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbows and waiting round the bend. My huckleberry friend, Moon River and me. Moon River wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbows and waiting round the bend. My huckleberry friend, Moon River and me. And that's like a song that I would really encourage the caregiver to, be patting the melody or patting the rhythm on their caregiver's hand, or making eye contact with them, being in a position where the connection can happen. And I'm just the facilitator of that relationship building. And maybe it's an opportunity to give your mom a manicure and paint her nails, or maybe it's an opportunity to just smile at each other or massages her hands. To have touch, we have to have touch and interpersonal connections. And that's just one sweet moment. And then you can move into a little exercise activity, which you guys won't be able to see me, so I'm not going to do it, but you could put on a recording of Perry Como's Catch a Falling Star and have them push their arms out, pull them back, reach up and down. And our movement activities really involve a lot of cross-lateralization of those arms and to engage the whole brain. That means they're going to hopefully be more alert and hopefully more willing to have more in-depth cognitive conversations with you as the session goes on. So those movements and having them in their chair and marching their feet, and I always recommend a chair with arms on it so that they are in a really stable position. It's not likely that they'll fall out. And encouraging to kick and extend their legs back and forth to the rhythm of songs. And you can do this with a recording of their favorite song. And then another example might be that I would use old photos and put them in a song like What a Wonderful World. And Jeremy, as we move into this next slide, it's going to move through the song What a Wonderful World. And it's kind of an example of what I would do. So what a wonderful world. You can go on to the next one. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright, blessed day and the dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, the colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. So, and when I would build something like that, and it may not be that song, maybe your loved one was a veteran, and we might put together something with, you know, America the Beautiful, anything that means something to them. And so that's why when we do our whole initial assessment, we ask so many questions and want to know as much as we can about what that person's life was like, what they did, what they loved. And, you know, I'm going to be honest, sometimes when you initially bring in say they were a skilled mechanic and you start talking about planes, trains, and automobiles, and they may be resistant to doing activities because, you know, it's frustrating when you can't do what you once could do. So you might find a new way to connect with them through a new topic, but it's a really great starting point, and finding those old images of your loved one and singing a song that makes you think of it. You know, tips for selecting music and engaging them. Choose music from their young adult years, and don't forget the songs that they sang to you. If you remember that they loved a favorite hymn and would sing loud and proud during church, that would go on one of those initial forms saying, I remember when Dad sang, you know, what a friend we have in Jesus. Or, you know, maybe there's a song that that reminds you of your mom or dad, even if it's a current song, because that's a great way to, when you are having one of those connections, to play that song, print off the lyrics in large, bold print so they can see it, and just say, you know what, Mom, this makes me think of you because you used to do X, Y, Z. And, you know, and that's actually how I picked the song to start off today. Oh, what a beautiful morning. I remember when my own grandmother used to sing that to me, and sing that while working in the kitchen. And so those are ways to connect with them in a really, really awesome way, and then open up the conversations and reminiscing. Start looking through those old photo albums and get them talking, hear their stories and write it down. And as a music therapist, we would turn that into a life review. We would start videotaping them when they do start telling stories and put it together as a really nice product for their whole life to share and leave behind for the people that they love. And, you know, when things get really challenging in the home, because behaviors can be really hard with dementia. And when it does get hard, I recommend like a morning basket to build a new routine. So, and maybe that basket includes some of their favorite songs and song books that we make and create together, or listening and exercising to music. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be 10 minutes. It can be 5 minutes. It can be as long as we can keep them engaged, but something that can be part of their routine. Say you're moving into the phase where you're having to bathe them. It's a great idea to have a core group of, or CD songs that you would listen to during bath time. You know, just to kind of get you through there. And our brains are amazing with how they process things. And I really believe that it's going to help move that routine a little bit, make it smoother, because they're going to start associating beginning, middle, and end, and when something is going to end. And when it's predictable, it's helpful to get through. So that's the other thing too, is to don't be afraid to use picture schedules in your daily routines, even if they don't involve music, if there's confusion about what's happening next, because that's also another great opportunity. When you're trying to create sleep associations, because I talked about how music can evoke that sleepy, relaxing fix. And obviously a music therapist isn't going to be there at 3 o'clock in the morning when they wake up and are anxious. And that might be the time you just put on some really calming music that will induce some that serotonin that's going to help them relax and calm and have sleep time. And doing that consistently is actually going to train, hopefully will train. Now, granted, we have to remember that this is that dementia and the brain cognitive functionings are declining. So that's where this is really challenging. But remember that the way that the music is processed in the brain, elements of music are processed all over. So there's usually going to be some element of music, whether it be rhythm, whether it be the melody of a song, whether it be the lyrics that can engage them. And when all else fails, always use the sense of touch, a gentle touch if they will allow you. A gentle touch can do so much for someone that is struggling to relax. And that presence there can be huge, providing firm pressure downward on their shoulders. And I wish you guys could see me, because I could show you some of those movements to the rhythm of the music can really help stimulate sleep and relaxation. And really just focus on short windows to interact if you're trying to involve. You know, there's music and memory, like programs with iPods and listening, and those are wonderful programs to look into and consult with. But I also think as a caregiver, and I'm you know, assuming some of you guys, this is your mom or dad or an aunt or an uncle or someone that is in your family and very close to you. And you probably already have stories that you can use to find music from their young adult years and hear about it. And it's really an opportunity to celebrate their life through music. So if you can move on to the next slide. So my vision for music therapy in Alabama, you know, currently the only reimbursement opportunity for music therapy right now is in the state early intervention program. And that's birth to 3, where we actually complete extra training and certification and are able to go into homes and work with families. Sometimes it's once a month, sometimes it's twice a month. And it's considered a family training program. And I think it's not a bad thing to be that way, because really and truly we have to equip the caregivers with as much resource and as many ideas as they can to get through their day and to build new routines that are functional for them. So I see that, and I dream to see it at the bedside of individuals in acute care in these hospitals and long-term care facilities. But I also want to see music therapists in the home supporting and collaborating with caregivers to provide compassionate care through all phases of their journey. And this is a journey. And you know, what I say here today is not going to look the same for every person. So it really is a customized, individualized approach, meeting that person where they're at and that family where they're at, and then supporting their families even to the end of life, to give them a dignified death with the people they love, if the family values that opportunity. You know, one of the best opportunities I have had as a music therapist was when my grandmother passed away. And I was able, when my mom called me and told me that she probably was not going to live much longer. And I drove to Florence, and I remember singing by her bedside. And see, we had planned her funeral music. She had asked months before, and my grandmother died of liver cancer, and it was a very aggressive, so it happened very, very quickly. She was healthy, and then she wasn't. But we had the opportunity to plan her funeral together with her favorite hymns. And as I was singing through some of those, I remembered all the stories that she told me as to why she picked those songs. And so like we have that to take with us when that time goes. So you have those relationships to go. And I'll never forget, and when someone's actively dying, they're struggling to breathe. It's a very anxious state in some of those stages of death. And I remember singing the hymn, Love Divine, All Loves Excelling. And I synchronized the rhythm of the song to her breathing, which was very sporadic. And I was actually able to help regulate her breathing and move her to a more stable state in the dying process. And she died very soon after that last music therapy session with her. But even more powerful than that was she couldn't respond. So, and people in the late stages of dementia cannot respond, but the auditory system is one of the last to go in our brains. It's one of the last things to shut down. And my grandmother could hear everything I was doing and say, and she had tear drops in her eyes. So even though she couldn't talk, we still had that moment of seeing those tears. And so it can be really powerful through all phases of dementia, because you have that social opportunity in the early stages, but then you also have a strong foundation at the end, and you know what they would love. You know what they would love and how to connect with them, even when they cannot talk back. So I think that's why music is so powerful in our aging populations. And I'm never going to be a kit in the box. My business will never be a kit in a box. I've had organizations say, can you just make a recording for us? Can you just do this? And it's just not the same as having a real interpersonal connection with people. And I pray one day our state will invest in real people, real people, as in like this type of therapy, this type of holistic, meaningful therapy for this population, because I think it could transform compassionate care for our aging populations. I'm not going to cure dementia, but I am going to give families an opportunity to connect with people and hopefully decrease the stress of the entire home. So if you would like to work with us, or you can reach out to the Panda Project for more information about us. My email is on the slide, which Jeremy said that he was going to share with all of you. And I'm going to tell you straight up, with this COVID-19 situation, we are all pretty much 100% virtual teletherapy sessions. And it's really hard to build a therapeutic relationship over a computer screen. So there's a lot of challenges to it. We're willing to try if it's something that you want to try. We could consider maybe in a few months some front porch outside sessions. That way the air is circulating and our team would be masked and following social distancing protocol. But again, the power of touch and everything, I hope you guys can use some of these strategies. And I would be more than willing to talk you guys through a 15-20 minute consult session over the phone or via Zoom, or we have a HIPAA compliant platform called DocSeeMe. And again, I've got there are 4 of us that work together that we would love to, help you however we can during this really stressful time where it's hard to get outside of the house, and maybe help equip you. I want to also encourage the use of as many objects. So if you have someone that you love, love the beach, don't be afraid to bring in seashells and put on songs about the beach and sing through activities that way, and just create a whole sweet atmosphere that way, because the senses are how you're going to engage them at this point in their life. I end every session that I have with some type of goodbye song. This is usually a favorite by the men that we work with. It's called Show Me the Way to Go Home. Hopefully, I'm trying to remember if I have the keyboard on this. All right, we got this one. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and it went right to my head. Oh, wherever I may roam, on land or sea or foam, you will always hear me singing this song. Won't you show me the way to go? Show me the way to go home. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and it went right to my head. Wherever I may roam, you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. And those are listed of some references related to music and dementia from the Journal of Music Therapy Perspectives. We also have music therapists who publish their research in all kinds of aging and mental health journals. Yeah, so any questions? That is it.
Thank you so much, Karen. I don't see any questions that have come
either.
about. I know everybody was probably tuned in, so they probably hadn't had a chance to ask any questions. But again, you do have the option to put any kind of questions you have in the Q&A box. And if you don't have any questions, we want to thank Ms. Karen again. This has been awesome. We know how important it is to utilize really a free tool that anybody can use, and it's so unique to everybody. Everybody listens to different types of music. Music impacts everyone differently. So I think it's an awesome tool that's there to use, not only with experts like Ms. Karen, but also just in general. Music of the past, any type of instrument. So I think it's just a great tool that can utilize, and more importantly, for free in a holistic manner. We didn't have a question, Ms. Karen, but we did want to add that we have an anonymous attendee that said they just wanted to say that they absolutely love this, and thank you so much for everything that you brought us today. So I can agree, I can concur with that this has been an amazing presentation that we will definitely use and reuse in the future. So thanks again.
Anytime I can collaborate with you guys. If I can't get it on my schedule, I know a member of my team will jump up and be happy to. And in fact, two of my team members joined, Brittany Myers and Ashlyn Riley. They joined on today, and we are committed to serving you guys and in any capacity that we can. So just never hesitate to reach out to us. Someone will answer. And thank you for having us.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if there are no further questions, we're going to move along to briefly just kind of go over what M4A does. I know we do this in every video, but for those who may be joining us for the first time, or for Ms. Karen and her staff, if you're unfamiliar with what M4A is or what our network of agencies are, we hope that you find this beneficial and pass it along to anybody that you think that might benefit from our services or from services with some of our sister agencies. So the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or M4A, which is a much easier phrase to say for us, is one of 13 area agencies on aging that cover all 67 counties across the state of Alabama. Again, we're one of 13 area agencies on aging. You see us there in pretty much the center of the state. We cover 5 counties for most of our services, but we cover Jefferson County for our CSEP program, which I'll go over in the next slide as well. But our overall mission as a network of aging network across the state is that we like to promote aging in place within the community, because we know that 90% of adults age 65 and older prefer to stay and age in place at home. Again, we cover 5 counties. Those are Blount, Chilton, St. Clair, Shelby, and Walker. And we do have Jefferson County, which is our CSEP, or our Senior Employment Program, where we partner with nonprofit host agencies to provide, it's almost like it's a program where we take individuals who maybe are no longer in the workforce, and we're trying to help them get back into the workforce. And I believe cannot for the life of me think of the age, but I think it's at least 55 or maybe 60. But there is an age requirement there to get into that program, but it helps to provide job skills and job placement, hopefully for the long-term goal there. Our overall mission as M4A is we try to empower individuals, people living with disabilities, and their caregivers to self-advocate, as well as live independently and safely in the communities of their choice. And our overall motto for our specific agency is assisting all ages at all stages. Okay, so kind of how it starts for us is we have an Aging and Disability Resource Center, or what we call ADRC. Now, it serves as a single point entry of long-term care services. So this is where you start. We have 3 staff members where when we get calls about services that we have available for our agency, as well as community partners or different community resources that are available because we are a resource center as well, we will actually take those calls, do a follow-up call, do a full screening, a benefit screening, what we call it, over the phone, to see what that person might be eligible for. Now, we have a couple of ways of doing that. The traditional way is calling our phone number, but I'll also go over the online method that we have available now through our specific agency. Can't say that that's available statewide, but it is for sure available through M4A. You can call 1-800-AGE-LINE. It's based on telephone number. So, for instance, like myself, I'm from Dothan, so I have a 334 number. So if I call 1-800-AGE-LINE, it will probably connect me with the Dothan number, but have no fear. We can connect you. Each agency can connect you with the correct agency that happens to be in your location. Now, if you have a 205 number, it will connect you to either our agency or the Birmingham location, and we can make sure that we get you to the right place based on the area that you're in. So some of our key programs that all of our agencies provide are our nutrition services, again, our Alabama Cares, our caregiver support program, our senior RX program, which goes into medication assistance for individuals who have no coverage or they work or low coverage. They work directly with the manufacturers to get you low cost or no cost medications if you don't have those covered under your current plan, to kind of help alleviate the cost there. We have a SHIP program where we have a certified counselor that can review over your Medicare plans to see, if you have the right plan, if there's an alternate plan out there that might be more of a benefit for you, and they kind of review over those with you. Again, our senior employment program, we have an elder law attorney that we partner with out of Opelika that covers most of the northern side of the state, as well as some other regions, but she can help us with advanced directive, power of attorneys, wills, those sorts of things for individuals who are 60 and older. As well as we have an ongoing initiative for elder abuse prevention. We do different workshops, different events, as well as our two big ones, our long-term care support programs, which is our Medicaid waiver program, which is in short, it provides services in the home to take individuals who may otherwise be eligible for long-term care placement, either physically or financially, and it helps to provide those services within their home to kind of prolong that long-term care placement. But of course, if there is a long-term care placement into a long-term care facility like nursing home, assisted living facility, et cetera, then we do have an ombudsman in our office, actually two ombudsmen, that will actually, they're in short, the middleman that will go between the facility itself as well as the family or the patient, so or the individual living in the facility, to kind of speak on their behalf. So if there's any kind of complaints that they have, if there are any kind of concerns or any kind of thank yous or anything that need to be expressed, then they can report that to the local ombudsman. And then they work closely with the state ombudsman in Montgomery to help take care of any issues that need a resolution. So traditionally, you call into our office and we call you back. Now, there's also another way of doing that. Of course, we work traditional hours. We're 8 to 5. So if something happens to where someone's not in our office, then of course you have to leave a voicemail and then we'll call you back at our earliest convenience to kind of follow up on that referral. However, we have introduced a new method to be able to refer. This is especially important for professionals. This is especially important for family members, for caregivers, that you can do in your own time. You just go to our website, www.m4a.org/referral. And when you get in there, you're prompted with this screen to kind of fill out the information for the individual that's needing the help that you're making the referral on behalf of. If it's yourself, of course, it'll give you the option to you can put in the notes that you're making it on yourself, or if you're a professional or a family member, it gives you the options to do that as well. But once you do this, it'll go into our queue. It actually goes, you can do this at 2 o'clock in the morning. You can do this in the middle of the day, whatever's convenient for you. And it will actually go through an email and notify us that we need to follow up on that phone call the same way that a phone call would be. So it has the same purpose with a completely different method and almost more of an efficient method. So we highly encourage that individuals in the community utilize this, especially if you're a professional, because this is a quick way to kind of get the information to our agency about the person that needs help in kind of on the fly or whatever's convenient for you. So definitely check that out. Follow us on social media. We are on pretty much all of the major ones you see there: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. and now our YouTube channel. We record all these again. We trim them up. We try to make them in around an hour, maybe just a little longer, a little shorter video for you to kind of listen to at your own pace, at your own time. So if you missed anything today, or if you want to go back and listen to it and kind of refer to it, of course, you can always visit our YouTube channel. We have a playlist set up called Coffee Break that you can click in, and that will take you directly to all the videos that we've posted specifically for Coffee Break. But we do have other videos on there as well, but primarily for Coffee Break, it kind of lists those within that playlist. You can also join our newsletter. If you've never been to our website, but I think it really does it anytime you go to our website. If you click, if you go to www.m4a.org, it'll automatically prompt you. There's a little box that'll pop up that says join our newsletter. And this is a very great way for you, for family, for professionals to get information about our agency, about things that we're doing, different legislative things that are going on, community events, caregiver uplift, just different things that we see to be an important piece of information that we need to put in our newsletter. Right now, I think we're still doing 2 times a week, but traditionally we do 1 time a week. And those do come through email newsletter, so it's not a physical copy, it's an email newsletter. But you can also open it in a web browser, share it with friends, print it if there's important information in there that you think might be relevant, that you can use yourself or with a family or friend, or with a patient. So feel free to join that as well. We always encourage that. And we do have our next coffee break scheduled. It will be June the 17th. It's a Wednesday, 2 weeks from today, from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And we are excited to have a long-term partner, both with our agency, with our Alabama Cares program, with our PANDA project, with our dementia-friendly initiative where we train first responders. Ms. Miller Piggott, she's the executive director for Alzheimer's of Central Alabama. She will be joining us, and we are very excited. We've been partnering with her for a very long time. We love having Ms. Miller join us because she is a wealth of knowledge, and we know that you will enjoy what she has to offer, what she has to bring, extensive knowledge as well as resources that might be really, really beneficial for many of our attendees and clients that we serve in our region and across the state of Alabama. So here's our contact information. Again, we are the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. Our physical location is 209 Cloverdale Circle in Alabaster, 35007. If you're familiar with Alabaster at all, if you're going down Highway 31 towards Calera from Interstate 65 from Alabaster, it is right across in the subdivision or in the industrial park, right across from the Saginaw Post Office. So it's not very hard to miss if you find the post office. We're right across the street. Our mailing address is P.O. Drawer 618, Saginaw, Alabama, 35137. You can reach us Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 205-670-5770. Toll free at 1-866-570-2998. Our fax number that is listed there, as well as our website. So feel free to reach out to us if you ever have any questions. If you ever want our agency to partner with your agency as far as any type of newsletters that you may have or presentations that you may have, we have several staff members that are always willing to jump on and do our part in helping our community and making our community more beneficial for all those that are living within our region. So thanks again, everybody. We really appreciate you joining. Feel free to like this video or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, follow us on all of our social media networks, and make sure that you share this video with anybody that you think could benefit from our services or from Ms. Karen services as well.